Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of Grindline Chronicles. So this time around, I want to do something different, with you all. So I wanted to share these brief spoilers that we get on Twitter, on every Tuesdays. Usually it drops on Tuesdays. And, I wanted to make sure that I covered this on this video here so that we can go through this together, right? So if you guys follow me, just make sure that, if you don't follow me, just make sure you subscribe. But if you are, you get these weekly updates. So let's just get into it. I've honestly gone through it a little bit, and there was some tweets that kind of gave some indication as to what this spoilers is about. So I kind of got an idea, but more importantly, I just wanted to go through that on this video here so that we cover the entire spoilers with you guys. So the chapter, all right. So chapter 1168. It starts with the title Elbaf Snow. Okay, I think that makes sense. I mean, I've seen a tweet. I'm just going to show that here with you guys. So I've seen a tweet where it's, where we see Blackbeard, child Blackbeard actually sitting in a corner. There's a moon. I don't know if you guys may have seen that already. It's kind of like a popular image of, child Blackbeard. And we see him sitting there, and underneath his foot, we see, a bit of snow. So maybe they wanted to indicate that this chapter is about snow. I honestly thought there was some sort of connection with Blackbeard, so maybe we see something here. Let's see. So Elbaf Snow, that's the chapter name, and we start the chapter with saying Ida died in a snowy day. Okay, I really hope it's not that snow that we're talking about, in the chapter title, but it's pretty sad. I mean, we saw this coming in the last chapter. Ida was growing weaker as day passed, and also in that last panel, we saw Loki kind of threatening the guy, the old man. I mean, he looked like an old man to me. I don't know. So we saw him, asking him, if whether Ida is gonna die or not because of this poison that they gave her. So I don't know. We all saw this coming, right? And also we know in the current timeline when Loki and his crew showed up to Elbaf, we don't see Ida, right? So it kind of makes sense, we basically saw this coming. So Harald and Haradin cried for her, and Loki suffered in silence while he was prisoned. Okay, that's a lot to take in. So okay, I get the part that Harald would show up because in the last chapter we saw that they communicated this information to Harald, and Haradin crying for her. Okay, that all makes sense. So maybe he came back and he couldn't find any doctors outside. But Loki suffered in silence whilst he was prisoned. And that doesn't make sense to me because I mean we know that Loki is pretty strong, right? So it doesn't make sense for him to get imprisoned, just like that. I mean, who's gonna imprison him? he literally burned down an entire village, just because they tried to hurt his mother Ida. And I don't know, maybe he just surrendered. That would be fitting for his character. I mean, when you think about it, he is the kind of guy who wouldn't show up to the, I don't know, Ida's burial. I don't think they do burial, right? Like Elbaf is Nordish kind of city, island. So in this case, they would do that in a ritual where you have the body in the ship, the Nordic ship, and they burn that ship, while it's going, on the sea or something. I don't know how it's gonna be like, but yeah, what I'm trying to say is, Luke. Sorry, I was gonna say Luffy. So Loki is kind of a guy who wouldn't actually want to show up, when they do all of that, because he wouldn't be want to be seen as a person who gives a shit, right? He's a kind of person who is really caring about Ida. He's clearly, he's suffering in silence, but he doesn't want to show that to other people that he actually gives a shit. It's fitting that he may have like surrendered so that he doesn't have to be there, or he doesn't come off as rude for not showing up. So yeah. So moving on to the next spoiler here, we see 14 years ago Shanks was supposed to get the deep sea pact but he didn't appear. Well, I guess he got the information that he was looking for, and he realized that he didn't want to go deeper in this because he was never there to become a holy knight in the first place, right? So he just maybe disappeared and went back to his crew. So instead, they decided Harold will be promoted to Deep Sea Pact and become a Knight of God. Okay, and became a Knight of God. I don't know. Maybe he wanted to say become a Knight of God. Okay, that makes sense. I mean, he didn't. The guy in his defense, right? Like he didn't know what he was getting into, right? Poor Harold. I mean, he thought that once he gets the deep sea contract, deep sea pact, Elbaf would be spared of world government's wrath. I don't know. It's not really wrath. It's more like they intentionally make it difficult for other islands, non-world government islands to live. So maybe he from his perspective, right? He just wanted to make amends for whatever happened in the past, and he just wanted all the people, all the giants in Elbaf to live peacefully. So he thought maybe, okay, getting into the good side of world government would actually solve the problem. But we all know what kind of trouble he got himself into, right? I don't know if he realizes that or not. So Shanks got out, so they let Harold in. Okay, that makes sense. All right, next chapter. Next spoiler says Harold gained more power and immortality. Now, how did he die? Emu ordered Harold to create the Abyss Circle in Elbaf. Okay, that kind of solves the mystery. How did we, how did, I think that was Nami and the gang. They saw this. I think, okay, Nami, Luffy, and I think we've had almost not everyone, but yeah, some of the Straw Hat Pirates there. So they saw this circle in Elbaf, right? They didn't know what that was at the point, and neither did we, honestly. And I mean, we kind of knew that this belonged to Knight of Gods, but we didn't know how it got there. I kind of assumed that maybe they have like a teleportation system, and whenever they teleport to a certain place, the circle would automatically show up. So they had to create the circle in the first place, and Emu ordered Harold to do that. So that is why we saw that circle. Okay, that makes sense. But Harold gained more power and immortality. Now, if he was immortal, who killed him? Right? Knight of Gods surely wouldn't want to kill them because, he's on their side now. Emu controls him, essentially. So it's definitely not them. And we know that, Loki kind of shared the story that he got there and he saw, all his guards kind of stabbing Harold, and that is how he died. Or I assume that, that is how he died. But maybe there's, more to the story, right? So Harold gained more power and immortality. So I'm assuming by this point, he realized he's in a pickle, right? So he knows why the ancient, giants used to oppose the world government and why they didn't side with the world government in the first place. So maybe he realized that, but it was too late for him. He may have seen Emu's power firsthand, taking control of anyone. Emu has the pact with. So I don't know. Maybe, yeah, we'll probably get some more information in the detailed spoilers or how he would react, in these instances or in these situations. So I guess we'll get to see that later. So moving on with the next spoiler here. So we see Emu ordered Harold. Okay, this one's covered. Sorry, my bad. Afterwards, Emu ordered him to create a giant army for the government. Okay. So we've seen in current timeline, Emu takes control of Gunko, and we've seen Emu, Domi Reversi, all the giants, so that he or she, I don't know, we don't know Emu, right? So Emu can finally take control of the giants, and he or she have a giant army. But that would mean that this command, this order that Emu gave to Harald, didn't actually work out. So afterwards, Emu ordered him to create a giant army for the government, which didn't happen. That would mean that there was some resistance. I hope, Harald realized that he doesn't want Emu to take control of Elbaf for his mistake, because he's the one, who gave this opportunity to Emu to take control of the giants after, I don't know, centuries of resistance. So whatever he did, he probably realized it has to end with him. Maybe that is what he tried to do with the guards. Maybe he asked the guards to kill him, so that Emu doesn't take over, and the giants don't have to end up suffering because of his mistake. I don't know. We'll probably get to see more information down the line. So the last spoiler says chapter ends with Loki and Jarl arriving at the castle. Okay. So, all right. That would mean that we're finally getting back to the original timeline. Now we get to, hear information about what finally went on. How did, Harald die? And then we get back into Loki in the current timeline, because he was originally, starting to tell the story of what happened, right? So that would mean that we're finally coming back to the original timeline, right? Because we know that all of this backstory started when Loki and the gang, Luffy and the gang, I mean to say. So they were asking Loki to finally tell them, Harridan actually asked Loki to finally tell what exactly went on, when he saw, or like when he killed, he assumed that he killed Harald. So how did he kill Harald, or what exactly, happened that day? So I guess we're finally coming back, to that point where he's actually explaining what he saw when he and, Jarl reached the castle, and they saw, I guess that's how it all started, right? He just mentioned he saw the guards killing Harald. So maybe we'll start to, get to that part of the story where he actually explains, what went on and what he saw when he arrived. Maybe there was, something missing. Maybe, Harald asked Loki to kill him, but I don't know. I mean, with the new pact, with Emu, I'm guessing, at this point, Harald is probably stronger than even Zebek, right? I mean, he has to be. At that point, like, when they used to fight, I think, Zebek was going easy on him, but still, they were almost, equal in power level, almost equal in power level, right? Maybe Zebek was a bit stronger, but I don't know. I'm guessing that they were kind of equal in power level. So this new power from Emu kind of maybe, made him stronger than Zebek. So I don't see Loki, young Loki even, not even the current stage, he's at. So a young Loki to kill Harald, 14 years ago. I don't think that's going to happen. So maybe he had some help from someone, maybe Shanks, because Shanks knew that, Harald was getting himself into trouble with, joining the world government, right? Maybe he knew that something might go wrong, and he may have been in Elbaf, and that is why he disappeared. I don't know. We'll probably get. I hope we get some more information to clear all of this up. But anyway, I think that's probably gonna be it. We will see more information when we hit the full spoilers. It's probably gonna come out on this Thursday. So when we do, I'm just gonna create another video and post it here on this Grand Line Chronicles channel. So make sure you subscribe and like if you like the video, so that you see more such content from my channel. And yeah, so we have break next week. I hope we get a really banger of a chapter this week, so that we have that courage to take or go through this break in the coming week. So yeah, thank you so much for joining on this video. See you all in the next one.